Fame trainer. And we've got this horse, Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt! And he's always behind Mr. Bones. So last night, and so the Hall of Fame trainer has been training this Thunderbolt, and he's a great horse. I'm always coming in second. And he thinks we can catch Mr. Bones in style and in speed, but it's up to me as well. And in this small oval, they wet it down every night for dust, which is the very thing that got into my eyes. And so what's happened in that ring is it's slick at both ends. And actually, on the qualifying class earlier in the week, a horse spread eagle. It was so slippery. That's bad, because if the horse falls, you're tied to a sulky. And if the horse falls, the sulky falls. And since I'm in the sulky, I'll fall. This is not a good situation when you're going 30, 40 miles an hour with other horses pounding down behind you. So last night, I was good. This sulky is as a place to place your feet. And you're seated like this, and you've got the reins like this. And I used to race motorcycles in the dirt, so that you're pushing like this in the dirt on the pegs. And that's the same thing that I was doing. I don't know who else in that race had driven motorcycles, but I was pushing with my feet, and this cloud of sawdust was coming out of the wheels, and as Thunderbolt went down, and at the end, I was down at the race was over, and we were waiting for the results, and Raymond Shively, the legendary trainer, said, I think we got him, Bill. I think we got him. Woo-wee, Bill. And they made the announcement. And world champion, Mr. Bones. Yes, Bill. Well, so that's been my adventure this past week, working with those aliens. And here we are. I've got so much to tell you, and then I want to find out what you want me to talk about. But just some little business stuff, autographs and photo ops and all that. Somebody's selling. Where are you guys? Somewhere at the back, they're selling opportunities. After I finish, there'll be one more opportunity. You're sitting on the March of Dimes thing. So if you take a look at what you're sitting on, there's a pamphlet down there, and March of Dimes, one of the great Canadian charities, and I'm their spokesman, so I want you to think about that. So March of Dimes, and then 4:30 I'll be photo opping and signing after that. Then there's some really interesting stuff happening. I was supposed to come here with I directed a new film called The Captains. It's been playing on a cable called Epix, and that reaches 70 million people somewhere, but maybe not in Toronto. So it's around, and it'll come out as a DVD. It's gotten great notices, and it's the kind of film you will love. It's a documentary on the actors who played the captains of Star Trek. And I went around the world, really, to visit with them and talk to them, and I established traits that the captains have, adventures that happen to them all, and things that they have in common, and things that are disparate. And it turned out to be a beautiful documentary that I'm terribly proud of, and something that's gotten great notices and a lot of attention, and I know you'll love it. Find it. It's called The Captains, and it's about all the actors in Star Trek. Having had success with that, the same company asked me to do another documentary, and so a couple of weeks ago, just prior to the World Championships in Louisville, I was in Las Vegas shooting another documentary. And I want to ask your advice. Let me tell you what it's about, then I want to ask your advice. I'm calling it right now FanExpo. And it's about the people who come to these conventions and who they are and what they are, what they want, and what they're after. Now, I wrote a book some years ago called Get a Life. And we all had fun with that. Because in the book, I went and discovered who some of you are and wrote about them. I wrote about a kid who was abnormally shy. He couldn't speak except when he had his cat dressed up as Captain Kirk. Now, you know, it's funny, and yet how meaningful that is. He overcame his shyness by being able to show his cat and say, you know, say meow like Captain Kirk or something. You know, whatever he was doing made him brave enough to be social, and he began to overcome his shyness by having that. I interviewed a girl who had multiple personalities, all of them from Star Trek. Well, there was no question in that. It was just a statement of admiration. Go ahead.
You said in the movie Fanboys, you're William Shatner. You can score anything. Can you score anything?
He wants to know, I'm Shatner and I can score anything. I take it you're referring to a music, you don't mean harps and violin? Score anything. No, you can't score anything. First of all, my wife would kill me. Secondly, I don't know how these guys do it. I mean, there are people I went into the men's room over here. 3 people followed me in telephone cameras. You can't even take a pee, let alone have an affair. Are you kidding? And then I don't know what these guys are doing. Everybody is suspect. Like a beautiful woman says, I want to sleep with you, George, or whatever it is. And George says, all right, let's run into that. She's going to make a fortune selling that story. How can you even perform? I mean, it's an impossible situation with this celebrity thing going on. I don't know what people do. I don't do anything. So I don't know whether Shatner can score or not. Well, there was no question in that. It was just a statement of admiration. Go ahead.
You said in the movie Fanboys, you're William Shatner. You can score anything. Can you score anything?
He wants to know, I'm Shatner and I can score anything. I take it you're referring to a music, you don't mean harps and violin? Score anything. No, you can't score anything. First of all, my wife would kill me. Secondly, I don't know how these guys do it. I mean, there are people I went into the men's room over here. 3 people followed me in telephone cameras. You can't even take a pee, let alone have an affair. Are you kidding? And then I don't know what these guys are doing. Everybody is suspect. Like a beautiful woman says, I want to sleep with you, George, or whatever it is. And George says, all right, let's run into that. She's going to make a fortune selling that story. How can you even perform? I mean, it's an impossible situation with this celebrity thing going on. I don't know what people do. I don't do anything. So I don't know whether Shatner can score or not.